All right.
Welcome to the Daily Stoic. Here we are. It's the first day of April.
Yeah, this is, we're actually reading a cookbook today instead.
What are we going to cook?
We're going to cook April 1st.
Oh, April Fool's Day. We should be like prepared with a chapter from another book or something like that.
We should have this and start reading an actual cookbook. Like we should just have the cover and then we open the cover and then it's like...
Gratinated cauliflower.
Yes.
Okay, so every month has its own theme. And so the theme for April is unbiased thought. I really like this, if I may, because we've been talking recently about like the areas that we have control over. And one of the areas that we have control over is in our mindset. And so what I'm thinking this month is going to be about is about how do you know that you're thinking the right way about something? Like by the end of April, I would hope to have like a lot of clarity around like what's a good way of seeing myself, the world, and my place in it, so that now I can go through all of my like mental frames and be like, does this stack up? No. Does this stack up? No.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
You want to go?
Yeah.
Okay. The entry for April 1st is the color of your thoughts. By color, I'm gonna like assume some sort of like emotion or something, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see. Marcus Aurelius has a quote for us today. Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought, for the human spirit is colored by such impressions.
So like you become what you think about, in other words.
Yeah, I like that. That's a succinct way of saying it.
And then, so there's like two train of thoughts on that. Like one is like, oh, you have to always think positive. And then if you do, then your life is going to be positive or something like that. And I don't know if that's how it actually works or that's how it is. Because I don't think you can, again, we don't have control over our thoughts. So then how, so someone says, think positive, right?
Now you're like fighting with yourself.
Now you're like, well, what if I have negative thoughts?
Now I have to like internally beat myself
now
up.
Now I'm going to be beating myself up that I'm not having these nice, amazing thoughts. But ultimately, no, you're mistaken. You do not have control over your thoughts. Therefore, thoughts my negative, positive. Okay, so that's coming. But now he's maybe
like what to do about those thoughts.
Additionally, what to do with it? Well, yeah, like maybe like you can say, I'm going to be now thinking about this negative thought. Mm-hmm. And I'm not necessarily choosing it. It's like the thought comes and now I'm thinking about it. Oh, this is not going well. I'm such a this and that. I'm so stupid. I'm this, you know.
You're believing.
You're believing that thought, and now you have an interaction with that thought. And so what this is maybe saying is like try to break that interaction with the negative thoughts. And then when you have good thoughts, like a positive, you're like, oh, wow, that's a great idea. Like that could be cool. Engage more with those thoughts. Right. So break, try to break. It's hard to break it, right? Because you find yourself in like 20 minutes later or 2 months later or 2 years later, perhaps.
Or 20 years later.
You're sitting there, you're like, I'm such a piece of shit. This is terrible. And you're like, well, yeah, but I've been sitting here for hours, let's say, thinking about this, right? And I'm not breaking it.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, maybe I'm like it kind of waiting for it to subside on its own. Mm-hmm.
But meanwhile, any positive thought that comes through has
disappearing.
Has no stickiness.
No stickiness. You just like go away. You're rejecting all of them.
Right.
Why are we rejecting them? They're there. there are thoughts during those depressed moments. There are these positive thoughts that says, hey,
it's not that bad.
Go outside, just go walk around. And you say, no.
Yeah. Or like, wow, it's so beautiful over there. Fuck that.
Yeah. And so you are now choosing what you have control over, which is how you're reacting and engaging with the thoughts that you do not have control of, which come, right? Which ones come, you don't know. But now, as the positive is coming, you're saying, nah, I don't want this one. I want to be really, really engaged with this guy for a really long time. For some reason. What is the reason? Kind of like the Francis thing that Francis says, like, we love misery. In some way, we so don't want this that we want it so bad. Yeah. Like, it's just like we can't get ourselves away from it because that's how good this feels in some sort of a sick, weird way.
Well, there's the thought that comes through that says, I hate this. This feels like shit. It feels so bad. But at the same time...
Here's a positive thing you can do, and you're like, no.
But at the same time, like, underneath... So, like, you have the thought that says, I hate this. I don't want this. Why would I want to be depressed? Why would I want... Nobody wants to be depressed. Why would I want to be depressed? That's what the thought says. But underneath that, there's this almost, like, sick addiction to the physical feeling of that depression. That's like, I have to stay here. Like, I have to stay in this... Like... I don't
until I understand it almost. So it's almost like I don't know what to do. So I'm just gonna sit with this thing until I know what to do. And then the entire time you're sitting there and you're saying, I am this thing and I don't know what to do. I am this thing and I don't know what to do. Hey, would you wanna do this other thing? No, because I don't know what to do here. Right? And it's like, but the universe is calling you out of that place. But it's so subtle that we are dismissing all of them. We're like, no, go away. But that is a thought that came from some place where you don't know where that says, hey, come on, buddy, let's go outside. Let's go for a walk or something, right? Like, let's go do something. Let's go think about something else, right? So the mechanism that says do break from this almost addiction to this negative outlook. No matter how deep you're on this, there's always this thing that wants to help you to show you another option. But we are so embedded into our own ways of doing it that we say that's how I am and I cannot break. Therefore, I'm going to sit here and that's how I'm going to do it. You know?
You identify with the content of the thought rather than identifying as the filter that does one thing or another with the thoughts that come through.
Yeah. You're the filter. You're not the thoughts.
Yeah.
You're the filter, and you have full control over that. Even though, but when you're not using the filter, well then no.
Then it's just habit. It's just whatever you learned.
Yeah.
And you learned it, like first you learned it from your parents because your parents were a certain way and like you were baked in that environment.
You can't choose that either.
You can't choose, you can't choose like the habits that are just easy, that just feel so you, that they just feel like this is me, this is who I am.
There's another good thing that you cannot choose, like where you were born and where you were born to, which people you were born to, who are your siblings, who are your people around you. You couldn't choose
who your teachers were in school.
Teachers were in school.
What kind of school you went to.
Yeah. And then, so all of that beginning is kind of like nothing is really at your control. Except continuously, this is always there, this control over how you're looking at things, but no one's teaching you.
No one tells you that that's in your control.
No one's teaching you that
so
that's
you're not looking at it like that.
Yes.
And I think about that all the time where I'm like, well, technically when I was a 5-year-old in X, Y, or Z situation, I had the same control over my frame of mind, my words, and my behavior, but I didn't see that. I wasn't programmed to see that. So I was actually just acting based on programming.
Dude, and I think that most people, even today, the way when we're acting like idiots, we don't see it.
Oh no, we have no idea.
We don't see it, and it's like other people are looking at us like, what the heck is going on, right? But we're like, maybe we see it in like, yeah, I'm pissed off, but like I cannot get unpissed off just like this, just by changing my perspective. No, I have all these thoughts and I'm in it and I'm not getting unpissed off, right? Like I cannot escape from it, even though others see me being in it and say, hey, come on, buddy, let's go this. No, I'm staying in it. I have to internally somehow come to conclusion that I want to let go of that.
Yeah.
And move on.
I mean,
and that's a great practice.
For sure.
Because that will always happen. And
always,
so practicing breaking that thing or like letting that go, like, okay, cool. Like that's there somewhere. It's there. Okay, it's okay. It's a thought that came through my mind. All right. Hey, a leaf blew through the sky. Okay.
I don't need to do anything.
I don't need to do anything with it. Yeah, it's just there. Yeah, there's a leaf.
And so in that way...
Now if you're thinking like your backyard has to be meticulously spotless, that leaf falling in your yard is going to create incredible craziness in your head. But if you just say, yeah, it's a backyard, of some sort of a backyard, more leaves come in, it's fine. Right? Maybe this is too much...
the analogy,
yeah.
no, I mean, it's not tangent. It's the analogy
fell apart.
I don't know if it fell apart. I would need to think about it a little bit more. But
Forget
I have
about
like
it.
computing.
How about we forget about that?
Okay.
Practice forgetting about what I said.
But what you were saying of like practice like forgetting about like the pissed off thought or something like that. I'm now also connecting it to like these 3 buckets that the Stoics say we have the control over: the mindset, the words, and the behavior. So it's like if I can catch that pissed off thought, like that is sort of a mindset in that pissed off thought. It's like it's a particular kind of filter on a world. But if I get smart about it, maybe I can't stop that thought from coming through today. Maybe out of practice, I can condition.
It'll come through.
But I think over time, if I continue working like this, it might stop coming through on its own eventually. But for now, I can't control. It's there. We don't choose our thoughts, so it is there.
Right.
But now the next layer is what I say. And so maybe part of this of my learning is like actually practicing having more things be unsaid. More things that are like those filter things of like the pissed off thought, I think this is stupid, the opinion that I have that things are bad or wrong or whatever the case is. It's okay that they're coming through the system, but my filter should take them out of what's coming down to my mouth.
or not just take them down, but like, yeah. It's interesting because like, sometimes we go through this, like I go like, oh, well, I wish I said something else. But then I go, but what is the else that I could have said? And it's like, then I think like, oh, I should have thought of this. I more look at it like, there is this thing you're like, hey, this person said this. I want to say this. And you stop yourself from saying that because you're like, oh, this is like I don't want to have this reaction back to someone. By you not saying it, you don't have to think about the next thing.
Correct.
That next thing just arises
right.
and says, and what is the next thing? It's most likely much better answer
right.
than that first one that you wanted to just flat out be like, oh, fuck off or something, right? Like you're just like, second, you go, I want to say that, but. Well, maybe we can. Maybe I'm not on that same page with you. Now that's a completely different thing.
And maybe nothing even needs to get freaking said at all.
And
this is where I'm at. Like especially at work, because I'm in onboarding right now. There's so many times I want to just jump into a conversation to like prove value or be helpful or freaking whatever, And then I'm like, okay, that's not what needs to happen right now. And I'll zip my lips, and sometimes I'll just find that like, hey, things move on without my input.
Yeah. And even solutions get figured out
without my input.
Without your input. But is it helpful for you to be there? I think that maybe why it got figured out is also because you are there, and maybe you're not necessarily saying anything. Maybe you're just listening. And when you're listening, they all can talk. And when they're talking, they say, oh wait, no, that's not what I need to do. They catch themselves. You're not doing anything. You're listening. They catch themselves and says, we cannot do that. You know what? And they say, thank you, Brentan, for me coming up with this, because we cannot do it that way. And then you say, well, what did I do? Right? But what you did something. You were there attending to what they were saying, and then they discovered on their own something else, and now they resolved that issue. And you say, what? I didn't do anything. But you're a very big key there, because if you were not there, now maybe that other person is not listening. They're giving them their opinion and my opinion and their opinion. And the meeting adjourns, and we're like, we still don't know what to do, or we're doing something wrong.
Right.
Or we're doing something that everyone's not on the same page.
Right.
Right. And so it's like, yeah, that's a superpower, man. Listening, yeah, it's amazing. Yeah.
Right.
But what is listening, right? Like it's.
And
not
this
just
is like its own. I mean,
it's not that.
we wanna do another like full podcast about listening and all that kind of stuff. That's kind of like on the sidebar of what we're talking about today. But
sweet.
We still have Ryan's.
Yeah,
okay, let's read Ryan. And then let's have an April 1st. Okay, here's Ryan. If you bend your body into a sitting position every day for a long enough period of time, the curvature of your spine changes. A doctor can tell from a radiograph or an autopsy whether someone sat at a desk for a living. If you shove your feet into tiny, narrow dress shoes each day, your feet begin to take on that form as well. The same is true for our mind. If you hold a perpetually negative outlook, soon enough everything you encounter will seem negative. Close it off and you'll become closed-minded. Color it with the wrong thoughts and your life will be dyed the same. Nice.
He was mostly focusing on all this negative stuff. I would have wished to say, like, hey, how do you color your life with nice colors? But that's probably
Maybe that's a different day.
It's maybe April
different
2nd.
April 2nd. Maybe that's tomorrow. Yeah.
Cool.
I'm satisfied for now to because we live in this culture where it's so like performative. And your mindset seems to be this thing that you can kind of conceal or hide from the world. And so there's like this thing of like, well, let me get my body into a good physical shape because people can see that. But it doesn't matter if my thoughts are all negative. Mm-hmm. And what I'm seeing and I've kind of had the lessons in my life recently have really shown me that people know what your state of mind is. Like, they can feel it in you. You don't have to say something.
They can see if you're out of shape versus... And they can also see when you're out of...
mental shape. They can feel that, and nobody's talking about it, but they feel it.
Of course.
And like what you're saying of me being at the meeting and listening, they can feel maybe also that listening is happening, that I'm not sitting here like at the same time scrolling through social media or like shopping on Amazon or something like that. I'm genuinely listening to what they're saying. And so they might then feel that. And as you're saying, now they're saying things out loud and they're like, well, she's listening to this. So whatever I say out loud has to be like this very sort of like carefully thought through idea. And it's like a better idea that they're bringing to the table and that they're sharing potentially. Who knows? Because we don't have a control meeting where I'm not there and they're meeting on their own. But this is to say that the role of the listener is not this invisible thing. It's felt and shared by the other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
As is whatever the general kind of weather is in my mind is somehow perceived by other people. And I cannot kind of like, I should not deceive myself into thinking that just because my mind is in my skull, that other people can't see it in some way. they don't know like the specific thought that's going through my head, but they can feel the color of the whole thing.
Yeah. And that's how people say that who you are. That's how they give you the label.
Of course, yeah. If you seem like an Eeyore who's always like down in the dumps or something like that, right? Or if you seem like the energetic, outgoing, bubbly person, all of those different things. Yeah, like it's a combination of like
because you're making it sound like bubbly personality is like
a good thing. Sure, no, but you could be over. I mean, I'm that person. I'm insecure, over eager to do things. Yeah, like kind of locked more up here in my body. It doesn't feel so deep. I don't feel like so deep and planted in my thinking. Things feel just like kind of more like nervous a little bit as like a default. And so, yeah, it would be silly to think that other people can't perceive that in some way. Of course they're perceiving that.
Now, do they know how to read it? They're probably not. Most people don't know how to read it. They read something, and then they say, this person is a jackass. And then, oh, I love this person. This person is always so helpful. And like they do this, right?
They're judging. They're judging from the outside based on.
They're judging from the outside of how their internal senses are reading the other human, because we are animals. So we walk into a room, we don't need to say one word. We look at each other and we have some communication already. We know some stuff about each other. We already have these instincts, right? Like it's not like we're like these idiots who just like walk into a place like, what? Like, no, like we have we're sensing, you sense if people like you or don't like you.
Yeah.
They don't have to say anything. There's just some vibe in it, right? Like,
yeah.
or you might be completely wrong, because this happens to me all the time. I go around interviews and people are just like, "Oh my God, this is awesome, dude! You are great! Oh my, there will be such a great addition to have you. Okay, thank you so much for interviewing. Okay, we'll see you later. Okay, great, awesome, bye." We go by. Hey, any updates on this? Oh, we went some other direction. Like, what was all this? Yay, right? Like, and I'm reading it as that's what it is. But now I'm like, now I'm starting to read it based on like the 48 laws of power. Now I'm starting to read it like, oh, these people are just like this too much enthusiasm is like a cover up for something else or something, right? And I'm just like more skeptical of this. So now, if I go to an interview and it's all very positive, I'm just kind of like, yeah, that went pretty okay. Let's see what happens.
Yeah.
Not like, oh, dude, if I don't get this job, I will be like, what? I have to get this job. And then you don't get it. You're like, oh, shit, I didn't get it. Where was I wrong? What did I do? Why was it this way, right? Like, it's very confusing, right? So, like, yeah, again, less expectation of the outcome that you want, because that outcome may or may not happen, and that's not really in our control.
Sure. That's funny, because I feel like you're like tying that back to yesterday's thing with that.
I wasn't even thinking of what was yesterday about.
But with the people because we're talking about how you can kind of read people's, like, we have a sense with non-verbally of what's going on with other people. So you're talking about like that interview panel that has like this reaction to you of like, great, well, this is amazing. I'm thinking like there could be a couple of things happening there. Either A, they're being genuine about it, and then like they're just meeting a lot of really amazing people, and you're one of the amazing people.
I don't need to go through the why. I you know what I mean, in my own system, like I don't have to go through like
sure, I'm not doing it for your benefit.
I see, because like I do ask myself like, what could have I done differently that I like to be like to figure out like how to read the room better or something like that, like that's kind of like what my takeaways are, like read the room better. It's not necessarily like what I have to
Sure,
Like,
and I'm not commenting on like your like what you need to be doing.
Oh, okay,
differently.
because I was talking about these jobs, and it was like that's what I was kind of going through. But that's why I was. We were talking about the panel.
Yes.
Right? Okay.
Yeah, and so what I'm tying this back to like the flavor or like the color of people's thoughts, and so I'm just like kind of speculating on what the flavor or the color of that panel's thoughts might be so that even I could understand it, because like that is a puzzling situation of like, hey, there's all of this enthusiasm and then there's like this weird sort of like what's the like an ending that goes a twist, like there's like a twist in the plot, like a twist in the ending almost.
Yeah, but it's not based on it's not like at the end of the interview the twist happened.
I know. Yeah, it's throughout.
No. The interview is great.
Yes.
Everything great. Now let's hold on for a second because we need to make a decision. Twist.
Yes,
Or
that's
something.
what I was
Yeah,
referring
yeah.
to. Exactly. Yes. So, I'm simply speculating on what's going on with that enthusiasm that people are displaying, because I'm like, either A, it could be like this genuine thing that they're actually feeling, or B, it could be like we're so trained to be polite that
That's what it is.
we're over the top on politeness.
Yeah. And that's really difficult then to read those people is my point.
Yes.
Right? Like, yes, can you walk into a room just and read the room without saying one word? We have this instinct, this animal instinct of reading people, right? That's kind of what we're talking about. And now you can read those colors. My point was like there are situations where you go in and you just cannot read that room. Because they're coloring themselves with colors that are artificially brought up to show you all these blues and greens and reds, how beautiful it is.
You might have
But
like
you
a
don't
weird...
see the grays and
Yeah.
the dark stuff. You don't see that because they have all of these colors and they showing you those colors.
Right.
And so you're like, okay, I'm reading this room. This is all beautiful thing, right? And so they're reading my colors, and I'm thinking they're reading my colors also good. We have a good thing.
Yes.
And now there's a twist, and now you go, what happened? Well, what happened was that in my opinion, I was as genuine as I can be. I was showing my true colors, if you will, but maybe they were not showing their true colors, you know.
Right. And maybe the only way to...
Something had to smell bad during those interview process where they could have been more congruent and say, oh, well, that's interesting. Like you're looking at it like, or like, give me something that it's not all happy, awesome, right? But what were you going to say?
I lost it.
Oh, okay, sorry.
No, it's okay. Yeah, cool. I think I'm satisfied for today.
Cool.
Are you?
Yeah, beautiful.
Let's wrap it up.
Sweet.